What is going on, everybody? I go by Philly Mike, and it's the Philly Tall Podcast. It's been a couple weeks since we've been live, or at least a week or so since the official AJ Brown trade, and it's been quiet. Eagles finish out OTA strong. We all heard the reports. Defense has looked better than the offense, and rightfully so. No pads on, installing the new offense where the defense are in their glory. Got Vic back, mastering what they've been learning for multiple years. It doesn't take a football guru to tell you that the Eagles have stars on defense. The Eagles have stars on offense. But the new implemented system to one side and the foundational system on the other side would mean that one should be ahead in the early part of OTAs. Training camp is the meat on the bone in terms of OTAs. On the field activities versus training camp, hitting, tackling, pads on. That is football. That's where the best players come out to play. Anyways, with it being quiet and the notion of OTAs where the offense struggling. That's what some beat writers said. Struggling. They could have easily said, are learning a new system, are figuring things out. These are better ways to put it, but it don't sell. If you say Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense are figuring it out versus Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense are struggling, the haters are going to come click on the struggling one. And this is why now you got Bleeding Green Nation writing up this article. Well, first, let's look at the clip quote via 94 WYP out of the article, but it's just ridiculousness to me. Report. Some close to Jalen Hurts feel that the Eagles did not support him enough when some constructively insightful stories came out this postseason about some of his deficiencies on the field. No one spoke up publicly on Hurts' behalf as they did Carson Wentz back in 2019. Again, we are at a quiet point of the offseason, and we already heard the Jalen Hurts offseason reports. So instead of just copy and pasting that, they're now saying that people close to Jalen Hurts, meaning Jalen Hurts told these people close to him, which got back to these so-called beat reporters, that he feels a little upset that when the stories came out about me, nobody had my back. Does that sound like Jalen Hurts? No, not at all. Does that even sound like our quarterback? No. This man said at a press conference, a lion does not care about the opinion of sheeps. Jalen Hurts said in front of everybody, a lion does not care about the opinions of sheeps. This ain't the first story that was written about deficiencies and blah, 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 blah. This is what he's been going through every offseason, minus the one all-pro offseason, but still there were articles written about, can he follow that season up with a better season, or was it a one-hit wonder, blah, 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 blah. This man has faced adversity in Alabama, Oklahoma, and in the NFL. And it's not even really us. Our fan base loves them. The majority of it. Respect the championship caliber mindset, play, clutch gene. But then you got this on the Eagles or the NFL downtime. People close to Jalen Hurts say, meaning it's still, they're trying to say it's his, it's what he feels. That's why people close to him are saying it. That he was upset that the Eagles didn't come to my defense like Carson Wentz. Now, you could try to do the comparison thing, even though what are we really talking about? Jalen Hurts just said, when asked about, do you have anything to say about the reports coming out via ESPN this offseason? No. He said he got nothing to say about it because he don't care. But then this comes out. And again, when you look at the stories being written, right? Let's just go to Bleeding Green Nation, right? This is how he worded it. Philadelphia better watch itself or it will lose another superstar. So he says this, Philadelphia better watch itself or it will lose another superstar. It got 14K in 21 hours. Right? Well, no, let's go to Bleeding Green Nation. Bleeding Green Nation. Not Bleeding Green. No. Brandon Lee Gouton. My bad. Sorry about that. Let's go to Brandon Lee Gouton because that's the writer of Bleeding Green Nation. So go to his page. And again, 2 hours ago, 2.6. 1 hour ago, 4.2. And his article that I will not click on and read the whole thing because I don't support this bullshit. But I'll read the caption on Twitter, which makes him pennies on a dollar compared to me clicking on his article and going to his website, which we will not do. Anyways, there are some around Jalen who feel he may have been traded after last season, and some around him and some in the NFL. Hold on, let me reread this. There are some around Jalen Hurts who feel he may have been traded after last season, and some around him and some in the NFL and some in NFL circles that he may be going after this coming season if he does not perform. Huh? So you get the off-season hit pieces on Jalen Hurts. They ask him about it. He don't care. They didn't move on from him. They can't move on from him. Jalen Hurts has a no trade clause in his contract. So if the Eagles wanted to trade him, it would have to be to where Jalen Hurts wants, or he could just say no. He has a no trade clause, meaning he has to co-sign the trade. I want to be traded. That's the only way he gets traded. I want to be traded. But let's just talk about these two things from Bleeding Green Nation / Brandon Lee Gouton. Very quiet point of the offseason. He already had the hit story. Jalen Hurts doesn't listen to coaches. Jalen Hurts doesn't hang out with people from the Eagles, although we just heard from Dontavian Wicks, who simply said, Jalen Hurts loves talking with us and rocking with us off the field. Oh, yeah, Dontavian Wicks is part of the cover-up story. No, it's a new player saying what he feels or what he knows about a guy in a small sample size. Jalen Hurts is making the effort to connect with us, with me. So the Hurts hit piece comes out, right? He denies it. I didn't call the 4 verts. I don't got nothing to say about anything in the article. We just going to move on. Let it rock. And now Brandon Lee Gouton talking about some people in NFL circles and some of the people around Jalen Hurts thought he was going to be traded after last season and think he can be traded after this season if he doesn't perform. Like he's been like, they word this as he's been a problem for multiple years. Like, oh my God, Jalen Hurts is on his last string. Bro, there's a reason he stays and coordinators go. There's a reason he stayed and diva wide receivers go. There's a reason he stayed and head coaches have gone. One being Doug Peterson. The organization believes in this guy. And with him, we've gotten to 2 Super Bowls and won one. And in both Super Bowls, he played his best game. How many quarterbacks provide you with stats galore to only falter when it matters the most? Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP, but he doesn't get it done in the playoffs. Joe Burrow has had countless great games in the NFL regular season, got to a Super Bowl, didn't play his best game. When you look at Josh Allen's top 3 most interception or worst games, some of them are going to be playoff games. So Jalen Hurts might not look pretty during the regular season, but when it counts, he gives you his best game. There's nobody clutcher. There's nobody with a bigger championship pedigree in the league than him, besides Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes is one of them ones too, that when you need it from him, you get it. It could be a bad game. He could struggle for a quarter or two, but he turns up when he needs to. Now, yes, Mahomes can also give you them pretty stats in the regular season. It is what it is. He has Andy Reid his whole career. Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback that hasn't had the same offensive coordinator for multiple years, minus in the beginning of his career with Shane Steichen. All these guys been with their OC or head coach. Their play caller has been with them. Again, everything in terms of Jalen Hurts gets blown up. He didn't get extended this offseason. Either did Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. My man's coming off a Super Bowl 2 years ago, a Super Bowl win, and we're talking about trade reports. In the Eagles' downtime, it's been hit pieces, trade reports. He's sad that nobody has came to his rescue. Jalen Hurts is he don't care about the opinion of sheep. He said it. They gave him a chance to rebuttal. He said, all I care about is just getting better. He knows that no matter what is said via himself, his friends, the media, all that truly matters is the game itself. He could have said, you know what, I do want to respond to the hit piece. And he could have said whatever he said. It wouldn't have mattered. What he does on a football field matters. Winning matters, and he knows that. So he didn't say anything back to the Hurts hit piece, except for when straight up asked, did you call the 4 verts against the Niners on 4th down? And he looked the camera in the eye and said, no. So part of that some of the biggest parts of that hit piece was he called the play on 4th down and he said no. And he's not going to lie. If he did, he would have said, yeah, I did. It is what it is. It's just crazy to me. You got people really writing this. And again, I would never click on a article like this to get the quote. If this quote wasn't put on Twitter and I wasn't tagged in it and blah, 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 I would have never seen it. I don't click on these articles. But they're putting the main caption up top to make you click on the article. But it's nonsense to me. Listen, in the 2025 offseason hit piece, they even referenced after the Super Bowl, they referenced Kellen Moore and how he butted heads with Kellen Moore. If that was a problem, why wasn't it documented during that offseason? Because it didn't matter. And nobody's going to click on a narrative saying that him and Kellen didn't get along after we just won in Lombardi. So they held that and waited. And so how much does this even matter in the grand scheme of things? Again, Brandon Lee Gowton is a beat reporter for the Eagles. He also writes for Bleeding Green Nation. And these are two articles he's co-signing. It's just ridiculous to me that really you got WIP quoting what Bleeding Green Nation wrote. Some close to Jalen Hurts feel that the Eagles did not support him enough when he was constructively, or some constructively insight stories came out during the postseason of his deficiencies on the field. No one spoke out publicly on Hurts' behalf as they did for Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts is upset that the Eagles didn't have his back. Does that even sound like Hurts? No. And then, like I said, this story is just absolutely ridiculous. This is like the king of clickbait. If you want to say clickbait, and again, everybody got to write a juicy headline so you do click on it. Make the juicy headline somewhat be realistic. You know, the headline, I guess, of this one is Philadelphia better watch itself or it will lose another superstar. I guess that's not necessarily the craziest clickbait title because it says watch out. They make it seem like it's us or the organization. The way his title is labeled, Philadelphia better watch out or it will lose another superstar. Again, look at the bottom here. Can y'all see my mouse? If y'all can see my mouse. Philadelphia better watch itself or it will lose another superstar. And in that, he says, there are some around Jalen Hurts who feel he may have been traded after last season, and some around him and some in NFL circles that think he may be going after this coming season if he does not perform. Crazy. We moved on from A.J. Brown partly because of the shenanigans he played against QB1. We moved off KP because of it. Jalen Hurts has a no trade clause. Jalen Hurts is not going anywhere. Jalen Hurts is what the Eagles want to continue to build with on the offensive side of the ball. Simple and plain. For anybody to type on a computer that he could have possibly been traded this offseason and might be traded next offseason is just bored. Bored to say the least. Now I want to get to the comments, to the live chat. If y'all want to talk about this more, we can continue to talk about it. But I just want to talk about Eagles football in general, what we learned from OTAs, what we expect in training camp, Jalen Hurts' progress in this offense, who's going to start at the wide receiver position, how do we feel about the offensive line, a lot of stuff we could talk about in terms of defense because it's been going crazy on all three levels, secondary, linebacker, and of course the D-line has been looking scary. That is without Jalen Carter at the moment. Again, it's hard to really grade a D-line because it's OTAs and there's no pads on. But I want to talk about all that stuff with you guys in a second. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsor. No matter what sports you are watching, there's no better way to get more excited than with PrizePicks, where it feels good to be right. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made simple. You just pick more or less on your favorite players' projection and build lineups in a few taps. Whether it's football, basketball, or another sport you enjoy watching, PrizePicks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you watch every play. And to get you started, they are hooking you up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup when you use code HMA. I love the social feed feature that they have on PrizePicks where you can share lineups with your friends as long as you're following each other. Share, copy, pick winners together, avoid certain players together. That is absolutely game-changing. So what are you waiting for? Download the PrizePicks app today and use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Shout out to PrizePicks. Right now, the link will be in the live chat pinned to the top. And once this is over, it will be in the description. Definitely go sign up. A lot of stuff going on with baseball. NBA just ended, but more importantly, the NFL will be starting soon. Let's get to the chat. Y'all can continue to talk about this. Trade talks for quarterback one is just absolutely desperation mode. I understand people got to pay their bills, right? They got to pay their bills. But to write these articles is just ridiculous to me, for sure. Mama E in the building said, nah, we can skip the bogus article. Facts. That's why I won't even click on it. The only reason I know about the caption in it talking about a possible trade is because it's on Twitter where things are free to read. I won't dare click on the article and read the whole thing. There's no reason I would want to read something. It's not real. It's a fairy tale for sure. Philly Trez in the building. Go worry about your goofy ass team. Oh, I see the Niners guy in there, right? Man, Niners are dealing with a bunch of stuff too. They got Brandon Ayuk on a crazy man tour, and they don't even know what to do with him. Joseph said Howie would not trade Hurts. What would be the reason for the trade? Who do we have that will do what Jalen did? Again, to me and you, which is simple as that. But I guess to certain people, they just don't know how to compute things in their head that makes sense. Common sense ain't so common anymore in this world. This world is ridiculous. And common sense has been lost on a lot of people. Aaron said, make it make sense. That's all we ask, right? Yeah. I mean, the first article via Brandon Lee Gowton, when he said the first part of the article that I saw the clip of when he said that Jalen could feel some type of way because no Eagle people or nobody in the Eagles organization, that don't even make sense. The first part of the article is Jalen Hurts is upset a little bit that nobody from the Eagles organization spoke out for him when all this drama was coming out. Are we talking about the same guy who didn't even respond to the article himself when given an opportunity? Are we talking about the same guy that said a lion does not care about the opinion of sheep? But Brandon Lee Gowton says he's upset nobody stuck up for him. And then later in the article, he says this. Could have been traded last year and maybe this year. Make it make sense. Like if you're going to say Jalen, this is what, if you want to write an article in the downtime between OTAs and training camp and you want to be as mean as possible to Jalen Hurts, you should write this. Jalen Hurts needs to figure out this offense. And then I'll maybe read it because we did hear the offense was dominated by the defense. Now, again, it just makes sense. Fangio's preaching the same system. The guys are strong in it. We're learning a new one, and was dealing with the A.J. Brown drama. Now that that's over, we can go ahead and figure it out. You can write an article saying Jalen Hurts was picked off twice in OTAs. One by Reek Woolen, one by Jeremiah Trotter Jr. If you really need to talk about Jalen Hurts in a negative light, write stuff that makes sense. Now, again, because he was picked off twice, am I going to trade him or am I going to say he can't win us football games? No, we're talking about people in shorts. And there's an installment taking place of the new offense. Anything you do for the first time, you might be a little rusty with it. Smitty missed some days in OTAs due to personal reasons. Lane wasn't there for some personal reasons. Like there were people who weren't there for personal reasons. The offense will figure it out, but that is what you could and should be writing. Jalen Hurts threw the ball, blah, 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 many times. Still ridiculous if you're going to hound on him about it, but at least it makes sense that Hayden has something with context around it. But to say Jalen Hurts is crying, a guy who's been dealing with this shit his whole career, no. And to say that people think he's going to be traded, he has a no trade clause. He would have to co-sign the trade. Aaron, I'm with you. Make it make sense. Gilo said, Buddy doesn't even have an argument to stand on. LOL, thanks, Trez. I was trying not to do it. Oh, yeah, Niner people in here going crazy for no reason. Philly Jones said, Jalen Hurts got dudes in their feelings. They come in the Eagles chats to whine about Jalen Hurts. That's sad. Yeah. When you are a Niners fan and you can't go find your own Niners content, you got to come up in Eagles chats talking about this, that, and the third. When you got Mr. Irrelevant / Brandon Ayuk going crazy on the sideline. Oh, but we signed Mike Evans. He got one leg. Cool. Sounds good. Y'all had your opportunity to win football games. Y'all had y'all chance to do what we did in hosting Lombardi as of recently, and y'all blew it. And y'all ain't getting back anytime soon. Cool, you beat us and then got smacked by the Seahawks. That's cool. That's real cool. Joseph said, I don't pay attention to this mess. If it don't come from LB, Philly Mike, Philly 500, Joey Shakes, I don't listen. I respect it. But again, you know, it is the off season. There isn't as much to talk about, but in the upcoming weeks with no football, we are going to go deep dive in what we did learn from OTAs and some player breakdowns because, you know, this is the time that we can go back and watch real tape on players. Like if you really look at any time Jeremiah Trotter Jr. got PT, he was see ball, get ball. Mora Ojomo don't get talked about enough in terms of production at the D tackle position because you got a possible healthy Jalen Carter coming into 2026, Jordan Davis coming off his best season. But Mora Ojomo's film is scary good. So I'm going to take this time. Today I wanted to harp on this because I woke up to a lot of people tagging me in it. Well, not woke up. This was later in the day, and I woke up early today. But a lot of people did tag me in this. The first story first about him crying about stuff. That's cap. And I just wanted to get on here and talk with y'all about this. And since it's a live stream, that's why I didn't want to do a video about it because it would have been only about this. Y'all can take this conversation wherever you want to go after I did my little rant early on. All that being said, I do want to deep dive into film for the next couple days. So every video is going to have some little in-between film breakdown on certain guys I want to see take another step or certain guys that I think are already one of them once. We're going to break down some Coop film, some Quignon film, some offensive guys too, you know. But we're going to do that throughout the down part of June, you know, because July is when we get back to training camp. But training camp is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. All eyes are going to be on the offense, and rightfully so. And as much as we don't want to say the A.J. Brown topic, I'm trying not to talk about him in general, but we will be going to New England for joint practice. So we're going to see how we stack up against a Patriots defense and how that supposed super team offense stacks up against us. Gate City is one of them ones in terms of breaking down film for sure. I ain't saying I'm going to be able to break it down like him, but we are going to talk about some of the guys who might get more playing time this year. You know, like the Vanilla Gorilla. He's somebody that we haven't seen nothing from. We would like to see something from him for sure, but I still think Ajomo need to be on the field too. And I love that three-headed monster in the middle rotation. And I think we're going to have a very strong rotation on the outside too, in terms of Jonathan Grenard, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt. Right now, I think a lot of people are bumping up Jalix Hunt over Nolan Smith. He just coming off a season where he led in sacks and interceptions. Jalen Hunt got an interception in OTAs as well. That guy is a freak in terms of what he can do via the pass rush and dropping back, which Fangio likes to do with his edges. But let's not forget, we still got Arnold Ebiketie, who is more of a, again, I think the Arnold Ebiketie signing keeps getting looked at as if it's like Azeez Ojulari and Joshua Uche. The money says it's different. And if you watch the player, when he got on the field for Atlanta, in terms of just pass rush win rate, he was the best over there in ATL. Now, again, the production and the sacks didn't equal the same as the pass rush win rate because his opportunities were less. But he was one of them ones over there. So you add him in the mix, and the Eagles ain't done. They just went out and signed AJ Epinesa. 1-year deal. I just saw the numbers come out today. I think it was 1 year for $1.4 million. That is a veteran pass rusher who can give you 3 to 5 sacks in a rotation for $1 million. What I love about this Eagles defense, especially on the ends, is these guys are going to be fully, I can't say fully healthy because injuries happen, but when the Eagles defensive line rotation is healthy, these guys are going to be coming with full stamina for the whole game, simply because the rotation is going to allow everybody to get snaps and be at their best. You're not going to have Jonathan Grenard out there for 95% of the snaps huffing and puffing in the fourth quarter. Like when he was on the Vikings, he had to play a lot. He's gassed in the fourth quarter. And these guys ain't machines. They're freaks of nature, right? They're really good. They're in great shape. But they're still humans. They get tired in the fourth. They get tired on a 14 play drive. Then the Eagles come out, somebody fumbles, and they're back on the field. They were just on the field for 8 minutes. Now they're back on the field a minute later for another 7 minutes. They get tired. But when you're deep at the edge, you're like 5 players deep, the rotation keeps everybody ready. And you make the most out of your opportunities. Donovan said, people like Mark Holmes and Dan Cilio and Eagle haters always say the same stuff about Jalen Hurts, but fail to realize he had a different offensive coordinator every year as a starter in the NFL. Facts. There was 1 year where he had the same offensive coordinator, and he was an all-pro that year, right? Think about it. He comes to the Eagles. Doug Peterson's his play caller. Then Nick Sirianni gets hired, and he's the play caller for the first 5 to 6 games. They switch over to Shane Steichen. So he gets Shane Steichen for half a season. Then he goes into the next year with Shane Steichen as his play caller, goes to the Super Bowl. And again, we lose as a team, but he has one of his best games ever. And when you look at the 2022 season, he was the runner-up for MVP, second to Patrick Mahomes. He was an all-pro quarterback. Granted, second team all-pro to Patrick Mahomes. But the last time he had back-to-back offensive coordinators, or at least half a season back-to-back offensive coordinator, he was an all-pro quarterback. And so when you write articles about the Eagles struggling early, also make sure you let everybody know that it's because the learning curve that has to happen in Philadelphia due to the fact that Jalen Hurts always has to start over and learn in a new offense. And I would say that this is probably the biggest jump in terms of learning a new offense that he's ever going to have, that he's had. I don't know. I don't even know how I'm speaking today. Every new offense he learned still had a lot of Nick Sirianni principles in it. When Shane left and Brian came, there were Sirianni principles. When Brian left and Kellen came, there still was some Sirianni principles. Yes, Kellen's did some extra stuff and brought some stuff in. And Jalen said there was a lot of new terminology learning there as well. But this is probably the biggest system jump from really getting away from the Sirianni principles. Again, Nick Sirianni is our head coach. He'll be involved. But I feel like this is not just from Nick Sirianni backing up, but Jeff Lurie and Howie Roseman saying, hey, we redoing this whole thing. Letting go of Jeff Stoutland hurts because of the kind of coach he is. But if you're really going to go all in on a new system, you got to get guys who run a new system. And Stoutland didn't run the outside zone, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay system. It's just truth. It's just the truth of what needed to be done. Nothing about Jeff Stoutland, the coach, but he was offensive line coach / run game coordinator. And we are making our biggest schematic jump. And because the Eagles are making their biggest schematic jump, who got to deal with the biggest schematic jump? Jalen. So I think this offense in its totality, or at the end of the day, is going to benefit Jalen and everybody. I think you're going to see the ball spread around a lot more, meaning more wide receivers eat, more tight ends eat. The run game's going to eat again. Jalen is going to eat yards on the ground again. But it's going to take the longest to learn. Where Jalen always has to learn a new system, he had more to fall back on of some similarities. This is going to be the less similar offense he's ever ran. So I expect some up and downs in training camp. I want to see Jalen Hurts in the offense get some reps in preseason. Some of y'all might say Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl MVP, an all-pro franchise quarterback. He don't got to play in the preseason. I'm not saying he got to play because I don't think he's good. I'm saying they need reps against people who are trying to play hard against them. They need reps on offense because I think it's going to be the biggest schematic change that we've seen under Jalen Hurts. For the better, but we need reps. Mojo with a $10 super chat. If Justin Herbert, Mahomes, etc. had a new offensive coordinator every year, they would lead with that every time they talk about them. Jalen is talked about as if it isn't the case at all. Odd. Perfectly said. That would be the headline. That would be the disclaimer. You know, when you're about to say something and you got to put that disclaimer in there, right? That would be the disclaimer for all them type of quarterbacks or any quarterback not named Jalen Hurts. Disclaimer before I say anything, remember, this guy did not have a similar coordinator ever. And then say your negativity about him. I absolutely agree, Mojo. That would be the disclaimer for every other quarterback, but it's the fine print for Jalen Hurts. Any other quarterback, huge disclaimer at the top. He's never had the same coordinator. And then the negative stuff. If there is anything negative being said. For Jalen Hurts, it's a big negative title, then the negative article, and at the bottom of the article, in very small print, disclaimer, Jalen whispers. Their disclaimer is big at the top. Ours is defined print. You know, when the radio station, like Brown Daub, you could come down to Brown Daub Kia and get yourself a new car, blah, 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 whatever they say. It's only $300 down. And then it gets to that fast part where it's like fast forwarded. They say all this stuff about most likely you're not going to get that same deal they said on the radio. You got to have a certain credit score, a certain this, a certain that. But it's like fast forward. They don't want you to hear that. They want you to hear, you can come down and get any car in the lot for $300 as low as blah, blah, blah. Then you get there, and there's all that disclaimer fast forward shit. That's what Jalen Hurts get. You ain't lying. Trey said, it's been a while. What's up, my guy? Hey, what's going on, Brody? You've been rocking with the channel for a minute, but it has been a while. It's that part of the all season where you got beat writers typing articles on the internet talking about a quarterback could be traded who has a no trade clause. Talking about a quarterback that could have been traded last year, might get traded this year if he don't perform. Dude's resume. Look at his resume. What's up, Trey? And I absolutely agree with you, Mojo. The disclaimer will be huge for all the others, but not for Jalen. And again, Jalen might struggle early on in this new offense, not because he can't do it, because it's the biggest schematic jump. But that's why I think we need to work in preseason. Training camp is big. Joint practice is big. You get to go up against a different team. Utilize what you are putting together. But OTAs is all installments. They're installing the playbook, learning the playbook. I don't expect the offense to be firing on all cylinders until the end of training camp and in the preseason. Battle Rap News Clip said, what is your biggest concern, Mike? Offensively or defensively? If you just want me to say in general, my biggest concern is still going to be the offense. Not because of Jalen Hurts, not because of Sean Mannion, because again, all reports via the Eagle players themselves, they got nothing but great things to say about Sean Mannion. And me and you as Eagle fans should have nothing to say but good things about Jalen Hurts after what he's done for this city and organization in his short time here. I believe in Jalen Hurts. But this is his biggest schematic change. Can he do it? Sure. But it is his biggest schematic change. The other thing I'm worried about is, can we ever get that healthy Wall of Philadelphia back? Lane is 1 year older, coming off of Liz Frank. If anybody can stay healthy, it's Lane. That boy tough. But you got Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens who coming off really shaky injuries and just seasons in general. They both got the stem treatment. They look good. They're moving good. They're talking like they're good. But it's the offense in general because there's more unknowns there. The O-line, schematic change, and although Lane, Jalen, Smitty, Mulata, Saquon, they all have said that Sean Mannion is super smart. But as Nick Foles said, there's a flow. There's calling plays is not just calling plays. And he's still going to be a first-time play caller. What I do like about it is he has, what's that guy's name? Josh Grizzard, who called plays for the Buccaneers last year as his passing game coordinator. So we got some experience there to lean on in terms of calling plays. And he was the coach for the Shrine Bowl. It's college, but he got his first play calling experience there. The offense kicked up at the Shrine Bowl under Sean Mannion where he was not, and you can't really implement your whole offense. You're only with them kids for a little bit, but he got some play calling experience there. He got someone to lean on, but the guy's super smart. So if I had to say concern, it would be the Eagles adapting to this schematic change. The Eagles in general adapting to the schematic change, and the play caller. That's still the biggest concern to me. Because again, we are a Super Bowl contender. There shouldn't be many concerns on a contending team. If you got multiple concerns, then you're really not a contending team. The Dallas Cowboys got multiple concerns. They're not a contending team. You know what I mean? There's a difference between a contender and a pretender. But I would say that is my biggest one. And sometimes the question mark gets answered in a good way. You just got to wait and see. You know, this is a defensive team that could just win you a championship off their defense. This defense is going to be better in 2026 than it was in 2025. I understand we lost some pieces. Kobe Dean went to the Raiders. Reed Blankenship went to the Texans. But we are going to be a better defense. Here's some reasons why. Oh, and what's his name? Jalen Phillips went to the Panthers. I think pound for pound, Jonathan Grenard is going to be more productive than Jalen Phillips. Now, Jalen Phillips got paid as if he's going to, like, he's going to go out there and get 15 sacks. That's the Panthers' fault. Jalen Phillips in his career's never, not one time, got 12 sacks. JG got it twice. So I think the D-line is better for two reasons. Multiple reasons. One, Jalix Hunt is going to be better than he was last year. Nolan Smith is at least healthier. Jalen Carter, healthier. And Jonathan Grenard is probably going to be better. So that D-line is going to be better. Linebacking core, losing to Kobe Dean, maybe they take a step back. But Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is ready for PT. Jahad Campbell has the potential to be great. Kobe Dean was a big-time player. He might drop a point or two there, but the secondary got better. Safety got worse. Corner got better, but corner got so much better that it's going to cover up the safety. And if you really watch Marcus Epps in his time with the Eagle last year, the name might not sound good, but he played super solid football. And what did Fangio say about Andrew Makuba prior to him getting hurt? He not playing like a rookie no more. That is Fangio saying that, not Philly Mike. Fangio said that Andrew Makuba is not playing like a rookie no more. So again, the secondary, it got better. D-line got better. Even if you say the linebacking core took a little hit, it's in between something that got better on both, above them and below them. And Fangio's there. And everybody who got better, everybody who's making the team better, also is getting better because it's another year with Fangio. As Zach Bond said, Fangio gets another year with us. We get another year with him. We feel more comfortable, and he feels more comfortable on things that we can do where he can even adjust his scheme differently just based off being in it consistently. And that is something Jalen Hurts never had. If Zach Bond, who's been playing like an all-pro linebacker, and Fangio, who's an all-pro type of defensive coordinator, both agree that I know my players better now, so I can call the defense better. And I know my coordinator better now, so I'm more comfortable in defense. Don't you think that would help a quarterback too? Just saying. Jalen Hurts has never had the ability to learn deep about his coordinator and what he wants to do. Like Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes are like, they can read each other's mind. That matters. If it matters on defense, it damn sure matters on offense for the most important position in sports, the quarterback position. Think about it. Zach Bond literally saying, man, we all more comfortable in it. We're going to be playing better in it. We can do more. That's what we want on offense. Consistency at the play caller position. I can't speak today. Consistency at the play caller position so Jalen Hurts can grow in that system and do and learn and play. Do more. Just do more things instead of always starting over and sticking with this, right? You get a new play caller. This is what you do. This is it. It can never grow, man. Like, that's crazy. Defense is talking about it. And I love it for our defense. Having Fangio around year after year. Look what it's done. It's translated us into before Fangio got here, we were the 31st ranked defense. I want you to remember this. Hold up. We got 459 people in here. Hit the like button. It's free. It's easy. Don't cost a thing. And it's greatly appreciated. And I know the 459 people in here remember like I do. Brian Johnson was not a great coordinator in 2023. The Eagles' offense wasn't the best, but we were still a top 10 offense. The reason we flamed out in 2023 was because of the 31st ranked defense. Sean Desai, Matt Patricia. That is why the Eagles were Trinidad in 2023 and collapsed. Yeah, the offense could have been better. AJ wasn't there for the playoff game, blah, 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 blah. The offense could have been better because of the talent we had on offense, but we still were a decent offense. Vic Fangio came here and took the 31st ranked defense and made him great. And better great in 2024, great in 2025, and even going to be better in 2026. That is what we need. And hopefully Sean Mannion's the offensive coordinator. That now, again, we had a lot of talent last year, but we were one of this worst ranked offenses statistically. Got to call a spade a spade. Now, I'm not blaming that on Jalen Hurts. I'm not even blaming it on the A.J. Brown saga. I'm not blaming it all on, there's a lot of things that happen, including the offensive line being hurt and bad. But we also had one of the worst offensive coordinators ever. All that being said, Fangio came, turned this defense into a top-ranked unit. Talent was always there. The coordinator was horrible. Talent's there on offense. Can Sean Mannion turn this offense into a top-ranked offense? The pieces are there. We've seen Fangio, when he had the pieces, do it. Now it's Sean's turn to do it because he got the pieces. Simple and plain. Mojo with a $5 super chat. Offense will be sick after the bye. I expect growing pains early, though, like Caleb last year. Yeah, look at the Bears. New head coach and Ben Johnson. He's supposed to be an offensive guru. Very smart. That was what was being said about him, and it took some time. Ben Johnson got out to a rough start. Caleb got to a rough start, but they got it together, and now he's on the cover of Madden, and they won a playoff game. We're not talking about playoff wins. We're talking about Super Bowls, but the Bears and the Eagles are in two different categories. The Bears are going to be one of the better teams in the NFC. Shout out to them. We'll see what happens. But I'm with you, Mojo. Growing pains. But through the growing pains, I want to see constant growth, learning, adapting. And I believe we're going to see that. The Eagles' bye week is what? Somebody let me know in the chat when the bye week is. I can't remember right now off the top of the head. When is the Eagles' bye week? Battle Rapper said, what's our best offensive lineup, Mike? Our wide receiver room is underrated to me. I think it's super underrated. And honestly, I can't wait to see it go. The more I see of Hollywood Brown, I know it's only in shorts, but that guy looks super fast. I feel like look, Hollywood Brown when he was drafted to the Ravens, had to be a 1. He got beat up a little bit. Then he signed to the Chiefs as a number 1. Was never really healthy. He couldn't be a 1 wherever he was. All he got to do is be a 3 or 4 in this offense. But I do feel like he got a chip on his shoulder. I feel like he always thought he could be a 1. But now he just got to be good enough to be a 3 or 4 in a system that don't want to just feature one receiver. Like A.J. Brown, for as good as he is, he wouldn't have fit in this new Eagle offense. We want to spread the ball around. And I'm with you, Battle Rap. I think our receiving core is the deepest it's ever been. Again, I'm not saying the best it's ever been, because let's keep it a bean. When you had Smitty and AJ, that was the best receiving core ever, because it was top heavy, but it was strong. One of the best duos ever. But we never had the deepness after them. And if we did, we didn't utilize it. We got a scheme that will utilize the depth at wide receiver, and now we got deep at wide receiver. Not top heavy, but we go as deep as Smitty, Lemon, Wicks, Hollywood. That's 4. Not counting what Johnny Wilson is going to try to provide in the blocking game / go up and get the ball at Wemby's height. Darius Cooper's a tough son of a gun, you know? We got Elijah Moore, who was a second-round pick and nice with the Jets before the Jets did what they always do and ruin people. So I love the depth at wide receiver for sure. There you go. Mojo said 10. Kyler said 10. Trey said 10. G said 10. So, yes. I only wanted to know because, Mojo, you said offense will be sick after the bye week. With that week 10 bye, I'm hoping we get sick before that. I get what you're saying, and I don't think you're saying it's going to be bad for the first 10 weeks, but I think you're saying it's going to be running on all cylinders after the bye. I could co-sign that. Put it this way. I want to see the offense really go through its lumps versus our defense in training camp. Mind you, what better way to get an offense better than going against the Eagles defense at practice? Yes, we did that at OTAs, but there was no pads on. Guys running in shorts. This ain't flag football. You saw us get destroyed by the flag football team in the flag football games with Brady and Jake Paul, because flag football and real football are 2 different animals. But anyways, I want us to take our big lumps in training camp against a top 3 defense. Then I want us to go to joint practice and really show something versus a respected defense in the Patriots. If we are seeing and hearing reports that the Eagles' new offense is cooking against the Patriots, I'm going to be thrilled. If not, it's not the end of the world. We have another joint practice with another team, probably the Browns. Then we got 2 preseason games. And yes, the NFL is a different breed of sport. In MLB, there's 160 games. If you go on a couple game losing streak, who cares in the grand scheme of things? NBA, you go on a 4-game losing streak, who cares? Because there's 82 games there. The NFL is short, sweet, and not so simple, but short, sweet, and strong. You need every week. Every week counts. But if we do start off a little slow offensively, that ain't the end of the world either. If by week 3, we're seeing some growing pains on the offensive side, we still might be 3-0. You know why? Because this defense is going to be next level. But I can see at worst case scenario, offense starts off slow week 1, 2, 3. Week 4, 5, 6, it picks up. 7, 8, it looking even better. And then after week 10, that shit running on all cylinders. I can't take 10 weeks of bad offense, though. But we have the time to put the offense together, because guess what? We could beat a team 10-0, 7-0. Do I want to? No. Do I believe it? No. I feel like although this is the biggest schematic change, although we can see some growing pains throughout the season, I still feel like it's going to be picked up. These guys are too talented. Smitty, Jalen, Lane, Mulata, Saquon. Like, these names are not just names. These are some of the most talented players in the league, some of the most well-respected players. These guys are going to be in their playbook night and day. These guys are going to put in the extra work after practice. So growing pains are something I'm going to accept, but I don't think they're going to be nothing that slows down the Eagles in its totality. North Philly said QB1 has a no-trade clause. Yeah, we talked about that. QB1 has a no-trade clause, so he would have to co-sign the trade. I don't think anybody in their right mind believes anything that's being wrote in this article. Now, again, the article title says, Philadelphia better watch itself or it will lose another superstar. But then in the article, he says, there are some around Jalen Hurts who feel he may have been traded after last season, and some around him and some in NFL circles that say he might be going after this season if he doesn't perform. Well, the only way he's going after this season is if he wants to be gone, because he got a no trade clause. And this just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. But I already spent like 30 minutes going off on this. Shout out to North Philly for just coming in and saying that, for anybody who did come in and wanted to know if he has a no trade clause. But yeah, he not being traded. Slim Reaper said BLG used to be good. Now he just a hit piece clout chaser. That's a fact. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really read his articles late, but it looks like from this, and I will not click on this article. And my title, what's my title? The Jalen Hurts trade reports are insane. Hopefully y'all know when I mean insane, like insanely wrong, insanely fake, insane in the membrane. Like, if you believe there's a possibility that he was going to or will be traded, go to the doctors. Actually, if you think he's going to be traded, stop what you're doing right now and call 911, because you might be having a mental breakdown, and it's a real thing. I don't want to mess with any. Mental health is important, but if you think he's about to be traded, go seek help. Seek help, please. Reach out. Tell a friend. Phone a friend. If you really think he's going to be traded, go to church on Sunday, something. Woo! Let's say a prayer for anybody who believes he's going to be traded. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. If you are writing this article, then I don't know. A guy who's just there said, to be fair, he didn't say that. Who didn't say what? Stop what you're doing, because Hurts is about to ruin the trade cope you be brewing. G-Man, oh, he's talking to somebody. Starship said the worst thing about our Eagles is the bummy media who keeps putting out these hit pieces. That's facts. That's facts. I hope but I've been wrong before. On what? A Markamet said, you don't trade the best quarterback you ever had. I agree. You're right. He didn't say that. But the quote that he put on top of his article, he can't believe that. Like, he literally wrote this. There are some around Jalen Hurts who feel he may have been traded after last season, and some around him and some in NFL circles that may be gone after this coming season if he does not perform. Again, there's also a clip. Let me read that to you also. A guy who's just there. Here it is from 94 WIP, but this is in the same Bleeding Green Nation report. Some close to Jalen Hurts feel that the Eagles did not support him enough when some constructively insight stories came out this postseason about some of his deficiency on the field. No one spoke up publicly on Hurts' behalf as they did Carson Wentz back in 2019. Now, again, you could say the wording some close to Jalen Hurts means not Jalen Hurts, but his close friends and family. But if his close friends and family feel this way, it's because they feel like it's coming from Jalen Hurts, right? Like, I'm not going to say I feel like my brother's sad unless my brother told me he's sad. You know what I'm saying? So we get this report first. And obviously, I don't believe Jalen Hurts ever is a guy who's going to go around saying, yeah, man, I feel like they could have stuck up for me better. He literally said a lion doesn't care about the opinion of sheep. They asked him in his last press conference about the hit piece article this offseason and about the postseason, about his deficiencies, about the 4 verts. They said, you didn't get a chance to respond. Here's your chance. Do you have a response? He said, nah, we just gonna let it live and work and get better. Then they came back and specifically asked him. They specifically asked him, did you call the 4 verts versus the Niners? And Jalen said no. So when given an opportunity to respond to it, he didn't. He said he didn't call the 4 verts, but supposedly he's telling his friends and family he's a little upset about that. Nobody's sticking up for him. That was the first thing. And then for Bleeding Green Nation to say that there are some people that believe that Jalen Hurts would have been traded this season, Bleeding Green Nation got to know that Jalen Hurts got a no trade clause. So again, in the article, you're right, a guy who's just there, he never said, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be traded. But when you write that, you hear this stuff. Like, there are some around Jalen Hurts who feel he may have been traded after last season. How? Everybody on national TV said what the problem was. Kevin Patullo. Jalen Hurts and his people thought he was going to get traded when he has a no trade clause. So again, right in this, if this story gets written during the season, nobody cares about it because there's football to talk about. He's just sharing what he's heard. That's what reporters do, my guy. I mean, yeah, but reporters also do more research. And maybe in the article, he said he's not going to get traded. I'm not clicking on the article to read it. But at the end of the day, when I read the caption part, and maybe you clicked on the whole article and read it, but there are some people who thought he was going to get traded after last season and might get traded this season. When there's a no trade clause in the contract, it's like, bro, there's a no trade clause in the contract. Hold on 1 second. You know, there's a no trade clause in the contract. So it's like, yeah. And it's not Bleeding Green Nation's job to make people it's not the reporter's job. I will give you this, a guy who's just there. It's not the reporter's job to make you understand or make you do this. He's reporting what he so-called heard, but what I'm here to say is what he so-called heard is ridiculous. And there gotta be a time where no matter what you hear, if it just don't make sense, he's like, bro, I ain't putting this shit on pen and paper. I ain't gonna put this shit. I'm not gonna physically type this if it just don't make sense. That's my biggest thing. So I don't care if he heard from two little birds. It just don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing with you. But I hear you. It could have been from AJ. You ain't lying. Wayne said Philly media went back to the default with nothing new to talk about. Eagles not trading Hurts, still fire Nick before they trade Hurts. You're probably right about that, especially if the offense goes crazy. Hurts is part of the craziness of the offense, crazy goodness of the offense with Sean Mannion. I agree. Don't think they're going to fire Nick. I think we're going to find a way to have a happy family between the three, Sean, Nick, and Jalen for a couple years. I feel like they're going to be able to work something out, make him the highest paid offensive coordinator, let him get a couple years under his belt. So when Sean does leave, if he ever leaves, he has any team to pick from. Think about it. When you have only one good year, you probably only have one good team. One team is picking from you. But when you have multiple good years, when it's your time to be a head coach, you might have multiple teams to pick from, you know? But again, it only took a couple days of no football talk, no OTA, no this, not no that. And it's like, Jalen Hurts is sad. Jalen Hurts could have been traded. It's just ridiculous. And I hear you. Anybody who said it's the reporter got to report what he heard, but Lord have mercy. I don't care who told me that Jalen Hurts might be traded. It's not happening. Oh, Lordy. Linda said, common sense says you don't trade a quarterback with a 71.8% winning percentage because you don't like his stats. He's 55-17 over 5 years, people. Answer questions to real problems. Thank you, Linda. I absolutely agree with you. 55-17. Say it again. This is just messed up at the point, in my opinion. I feel like Hurts gets hate for no reason, and I don't like that. Not just because I'm a Birds fan. I just don't like it when it happens to anyone in general. Yes, and he is the most talked about quarterback in the league. Most talked about quarterback in the league. And most of his talking points are not beneficial to his name and brand. It's all stuff like he can't do this, he can't do that, he won't do this, he won't do that. The dude is a coach's son. The dude has never given us anything to get mad at him about. Like, that's another thing. Yes, we don't know Jalen Hurts' inside thoughts. But, like, he's not a bullshitter, man. If he didn't want to run last season, he would say, I didn't want to run. Not that the coaches don't want me to run. If he called the 4 verts, he would have stood on it. And so it's just constant. And this is why I feel it's my need when I'm tagged in this stuff. And I try not to do it all the time, right? But I'm tired of hearing it and letting it just slide. And Bleeding Green Nation might not have said he thinks he's going to get traded, but to hear something, do your research about how successful Jalen has been, what the organization just did for him. The organization just got him a new receiver and a tight end. The organization just got him a new offensive coordinator. The organization fired a coach and traded a player for Jalen Hurts. The organization has talked about how much they love Jalen Hurts. So Bleeding Green Nation is not stupid. He heard this. He knew it was going to get clicks. If you ask Bleeding Green Nation, Brandon Lee Gowton, if he thinks Jalen Hurts is going to get traded, he'll say no. But he wrote this because he so-called heard it, and he knows damn well it's not going to happen. Organization loves him. They're building around him. And he has a no trade clause. Schott said he's not the best quarterback we've had. He went 55-17 due to the team he was blessed with. He's just a sad choice of quarterback. He sucks terribly. Yeah, he was blessed with such a great team when the team he took charge of won 4 games. Shots. Come up to the front and take these shots. But. Jalen Hurts was drafted to a team that had a franchise quarterback, had a Super Bowl winning coach. They traded a franchise quarterback, fired a Super Bowl winning coach, got a coach who wasn't even a play caller in Indianapolis, and Nick Sirianni, and they said, Jalen Hurts, go win. Jalen Hurts took over an Eagles football team that won 4 games. That second best receiver was Jalen Reagor, that had a first-time head coach who didn't know how to call plays. The man did not get drafted to the super team that is called the Eagles. He was the foundational building piece. Check this out, Shots. If Jalen Hurts sucked, they wouldn't have been able to go trade for AJ in 2022. They wouldn't have been able to go do all this. They would have had to get a quarterback. They would have needed to use their draft picks to go get a quarterback. Jalen Hurts was drafted. The Eagles were a 4-win team. They fired their Super Bowl coach and said, hey, second year, second round pick, help us do something. Jalen Hurts, in his first year starting, took a previously 4-win team to the playoffs with his second best receiver, Jalen Reagor. And he's drafted to a super team. He was the start of what became a super team. Howie Roseman already had the quarterback, so he didn't have to invest in the quarterback. That's why he kept building the O-line, getting different running backs, getting A.J. Brown, being able to just throw a 3rd-round pick for Jahan Dotson. Howie Roseman was able to fix his team up because he already had the QB, my boy. See, people really be forgetting this shit. People think that Jalen Hurts just got dropped on the Eagles that was winning 10 games a year. People think Jalen Hurts just fell into a place that was already winning 10 games, had all these great receivers, had all this greatness. Jalen Hurts just got dropped in it. Dropped in it. No! Jalen Hurts was drafted to a hot mess. A hot mess. What are we doing, dog? That shit funny to me. Let me see what he said. Yeah, you say that as if he made a huge difference. A.J. Brown was needed to boost his image. We only went to the playoffs the year he lost to the Bucs due to another NFC East team selling face. What another NFC team does has nothing on us. We still put ourselves in a situation to get to the playoffs with the NFL team losing. That's neither here or there. You can't. If ifs were a fifth, we all be drunk. At the end of the day, you just said A.J. Brown was needed to boost his image. A.J. Brown's best years came from playing with Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown was never looked at as a top 10 wide receiver. He was looked at as maybe a fringe or maybe 9 out of 10. He was looked at as a good receiver, but not a great receiver. He became a great receiver when he went with this horrible quarterback named Jalen Hurts. And you literally said he was blessed with a good team. He was the start of building a good team because you already had the quarterback in place. Come on, shots. Come on, shots. Damn, shots. Really, bro? Shout out to Poet with a $10 super chat. And I love the default picture. Tyrion Lannister. That's one of the greatest shows of all time. I love me some Game of Thrones. My man Poet said Shots just embarrassed himself. My man said that Jalen needed AJ. AJ needed Jalen. AJ wouldn't have been a household name without Jalen. He would have never won a Super Bowl without Jalen. Now, maybe we don't get to the Super Bowl without AJ. If anything, they needed each other. But Jalen Hurts was not dropped on a great team. He was the foundational piece that turned into a 10-plus win magnet. A 10-plus win as a floor team. He was the first piece to fall. And luckily, we got Jalen Hurts because I ain't going to cap. I was upset. I was upset. If you've been rocking with me since 2019, y'all saw I was like, damn, I ain't mad at the player Jalen Hurts, but with our second round pick, we could have built something around our offense. Thank the Lord for the Jalen Hurts pick, though. Linda with a $5 super chat. Learn your history. Steve Young would beat out the league instead of a legend if San Fran didn't get him. His stats match Jalen's 5 first years to a T. There you go. Look at that. Let me reread that from Linda. Learn your history. Steve Young would have been out the league instead of a legend if San Fran didn't get him. His stats. His stats match Jalen's 5 first years to a T. Again, Jalen Hurts' resume speaks for itself. And the dude was not given anything. He was a second-round pick to a hot mess of a team. We were a mess at that time. 2020, 4 wins. Second best receiver, Jalen Reagor. Rookie Smitty. He did the damn thing. Shot said them needing each other is fair, but it's no Super Bowl appearance without AJ and no Super Bowl win without Saquon. Hurts, not who y'all hype him to be. Let me ask you this, though. In both Super Bowls, who was the best player on the Eagles? Shots, just be honest. I'm giving you your time. And listen, I always can talk with somebody respectfully as long as we keep it football. You know what I mean? I'm playing with you, you playing with me. You know what I'm saying? I never called you out your name. I say a little crazy for what you said at first because you were being real disrespectful to Jalen. You know, I never said that Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFL. Did I? I never say that. I also don't agree with anybody who can write articles like this. Shots. Tell me who the best player was in each Super Bowl. And I need you to not only tell me who it was, but if the answer is not Jalen Hurts, tell me who the better player was in either Super Bowl and give me the stats behind it. Give me the why. Go ahead, Shots. I need to know this answer from you. Who was the best Eagle player in Super Bowl 57 and 59? I need the why and the stats behind it. if it's not Jalen Hurts. 2020 Vision said I was the only happy guy Hurts got drafted. Sick of Wentz. What a one season wonder. I believe you were happy. I remember you saying some stuff like that. That was a crazy, crazy time. But look what it's given us since. I mean, looking real, real good. And guess whose ring this is? Shots. Oh, it's that numero uno. Let's go. Let's go. Pinky up. My pinky V. I don't even know how this goes. Pinky value over 300,000. That old ludicrous. Oh, I got a shot say. All right, here we go. I'm gonna get to all the other comments too. I just want to get this. I can't give you stats, but AJ is the best in the first, Saquon in the second. The reason why is because he's not being game planned for, which lets him generate the stats he does. So AJ was the best player in the first Super Bowl. It's just not true. Hold on one second. Super Bowl 59 real quick. I think Smitty had more yards than AJ too, if I'm not mistaken. So how is AJ better? Let's double check. But you crazy to say AJ Brown was the best player in that first Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts had 300 yards passing. Do you know who's in first and second place for rushing yards in the Super Bowl? Hurts. Hurts had the record in 57 and broke it again in 59. So first place and second place for most rushing yards at the quarterback position, which still matters in today's game. That's why all quarterbacks scramble nowadays. It's Jalen Hurts. But let's look at some stuff. Let's go to the box score. The Eagles. Yes. AJ Brown had 6 catches for 96 yards in a tub. So he had the tub. But Devontae had 7 for 100. Oh, I know what you're going to say. Everybody was guarding AJ. That's why Devontae Smith was open for 100 yards. In the Super Bowl, the Eagles' really good run game went nowhere. Miles Sanders had 16 yards. Gainwell had 21 yards. Now, you can say what you want about Gainwell and Miles Sanders in the Super Bowl, but that Eagles 2022 team was still a top 6, top 7 rushing team. Miles Sanders had 1,300 yards in the season, or maybe 1,600, 1,300 or 1,600. I can't remember. But Jalen Hurts, all right, I'm going to read you the statistics, and I don't give up about a game plan. Guess they did game plan for Jalen Hurts in 2022. Jalen Hurts was an all-pro quarterback. Shots, I want you to listen closely to this. A.J. Brown had a great 2022 season, and it was an all-pro wide receiver. But Jalen Hurts was an all-pro quarterback. He was the runner-up to Pat Mahomes for MVP. So the runner-up for MVP wasn't game planned for? Nah. But anyway, Jalen Hurts had 71 yards rushing and a rushing, 71 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns. No, 3 touchdowns total, and he had 304 yards passing. 27 to 38 for 304, 1 passing touchdown, and 3 rushing touchdowns. 4 tubs, 375 total yards, and 4 tubs. And in his second Super Bowl, he had 75 yards rushing, 3 total touchdowns, and 220 passing yards. Saquon had 60 yards. Oh, but they game plan for him, and they shut him down. They game plan for Saquon and shut him down. If the team was only as good as Saquon, we would have lost. When you shut down a team's best weapon, or in this sense, only weapon, they shouldn't win. If a team is one-dimensional and you shut that down, they can't win. That just goes to show we were winning football games via the run game because we were that damn good. But it was not the only thing we could do. Just we got Mr. Unselfish. I said shellfish, like shellfish. Selfish. We got Mr. Unselfish and Jalen Hurts that would rather have horrible stats and win than good stats and lose. So all season, he was okay with the Saquon Barkley show, my guy. There's no way you can say somebody who has a combined 520 passing yards and 140 rushing yards with 7 touchdowns didn't do good. Hey, yo, shots. Listen, my guy, Jalen Hurts has over 520 passing yards, 145 rushing yards, and like 7 touchdowns combined in 2 Super Bowls. Bro, that's crazy. My man has almost 700 total yards and 7 touchdowns in 2 Super Bowls. That's crazy. Drop Squad with the $5 super chat. He said all these teams with top-ranked quarterbacks that can't win the big game. Give me Jalen Hurts any day. It's a new day. Maybe quarterbacks should take notes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because guess what? Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, they look real good in the regular season. But for some reason, when they lose in the playoffs, check the stat line. Turnovers. No 200-yard gains then. No 300-yard gain then. Where'd they go? Where'd all them stats go? Where all them stats go? Maybe they should take notes and do what's necessary for the win. You know how many times Jalen Hurts checked into a run? Now, haters will say, because he's scared to pass. No, because instead of stat stuffing, he checks to a run because it's the right call. He don't get the glory for it, but the team success is all that he cares about. I've seen quarterbacks in the fourth quarter up by 14, still in the game, throwing passing touchdowns on the 1-yard line. Cough, cough, Dak Prescott. Man, I've seen quarterbacks up double digits, passing the ball in the fourth quarter, just trying to get them stats up. You know where Jalen is in the fourth quarter when we're up double digits? On the bench. Bro, Kenny Pickett played in the Super Bowl. The Eagles' backup quarterback played in the Super Bowl. That shit crazy, though. My man's on the bench in the fourth, up 17. You got other quarterbacks throwing for touchdowns on the 1-yard line. Snap. Light Barrier with the $2 super chat. You're giving too much time to the slow. I try to hear everybody's grievances, good, bad, ugly, sad. And I do want to talk to the people who are saying positive stuff too. But I wanted to get on that for a little bit. I'm going to switch my flow, switch my energy to the comments that, and again, you don't have to agree with everything I say. I don't want you to agree with everything I say. I love the back and forth, but at least I need some context behind what you're saying. Now, if you say again, he started it by saying Jalen Hurts is terrible. I can't take it serious then. Now, if he would have said, like, look, y'all think Jalen Hurts is the greatest thing ever. I think he could be better. Or I think he's not that good. Okay, then let's, the conversation could have went different. I don't know. I'm with you, Light Bear. Appreciate the super chat. Linda back with another $5 super chat. Go be a Dak Prescott fan. He's 10-14-1 with great stats and runner-up league MVP. We good with Jalen. Facts. Hey, Dak is one of the ones who be in the game. Up 13, up 17, trying to throw touchdowns at the 1-yard line. That shit crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Shout out to A4452 with a $2 super chat. Didn't say nothing, but I appreciate the love and support. I'm going to start reading a bunch of these comments too. I see my guy Green Wingman in it. At the end of the day, Jalen Hurts has been a efficient quarterback for the last 5 seasons. Fans like shots, care more about the optics over the results. That's facts. People play Madden way too much. They want them stats. Shout out to the poet with a $50 banger. The biggest super chat of the day. He coming in, or they're coming in saying Montana's Niners had Hall of Famers on both sides of the ball. Bradshaw Steelers loaded with Hall of Famers. Aikman's Cowboys, the same. Also had continuity with their offensive coordinators across several seasons. Hurts has never had that, yet may have the same success when said and done. And again, we all acknowledge Montana's talent, Bradshaw's talent, Aikman's talent, but it's not always thrown in the face the same ways Jalen's talent is, right? Cowboy, yes, people acknowledge that Emmitt Smith was a top running back in the game ever with Aikman, and they had a great offensive line. But none of these guys, other great players, are talked about as much as their quarterback. When you look at Montana Niners, it was Montana's, although there was a lot of talent. It was Aikman is still the first name that comes up. When you think of 90s Cowboys Super Bowl, yeah, they might say Emmitt Smith because Emmitt Smith was just different. But Aikman gets credit. Bradshaw is the 70s for the Steelers. But with Jalen, it's everybody but Jalen. But at the end of the day, Jalen was the best Eagle player in both Super Bowls, and even the biggest hater can say it. See, like, I would respect a hater that says this. I mean, I would respect their opinion a little bit more if they said, well, Jalen got carried. That's the first narrative. Jalen got carried to the Super Bowl. Well, if you want to be statistically, any 2K rusher is going to be the driving force of that team regardless. So statistically, he wasn't the best player on the Eagles throughout the whole season. Statistically, it was the 2K rusher. It was Saquon who just was about to do something that has never been done before. Not only is he a 2K rusher that only a handful of guys have, but when you combine his playoff stats, I think he broke. Who was the Broncos running back? Who played with Elway? I forgot. But I think Saquon broke the record for the most yards ever in the season. But Saquon couldn't get us the Super Bowl win. Jalen did. Nick Foles was the backup quarterback on the Eagles the whole season. But Nick Foles won us the Super Bowl. Now, Jalen Hurts wasn't the backup quarterback, and Jalen Hurts didn't take a back seat because he had to. The same way Smitty allowed people to call A.J. Brown wide receiver 1, Jalen said, look, the run game working. I want to win. I'm going to hand the ball off until he's not doing it. But as soon as Saquon needs help, I'm going to be Jalen. Saquon needed help in Super Bowl 59. There's a reason. There's a reason I asked for, and I love what Saquon did that season, regular and post. But there's a reason I didn't get the AJ Brown ring or the Saquon ring. There's a reason I got the Hurts ring. You know what I'm saying? Because in Hurts we trust. Once again, shout out to Poet though. Big time points. All these quarterbacks had great players and multiple seasons in their offense with the same coordinator. And Jalen is like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. What coordinator am I going to bring to the Super Bowl next? Just kidding. But that does play a huge role. We literally, again, for the people just getting in here, we literally heard Zach Bond say how much better the defense is going to be, how much better he's going to be because playing in the same system. He's still growing in the same system. An all-pro linebacker growing in the same defensive system still. And a quarterback not being able to grow in the system for more than a year. That is just heartbreaking. Give this man a consistent system and he'll be even better than he's already been. And again, a lot of people like the optic and stats, but me, a lot of y'all, and most importantly, Jalen only care about the result. Shout out to A4452 said no more energy to these bozos. Shout out to everybody showing love. Let's get to some of the regular comments. I'm trying to get down. If I missed your comment and you did want to ask a question, or if I missed your comment, just re-comment it because I just had to scroll all the way down. I had to scroll all the way down and I was far behind with the super chats and stuff. So if you want me to read something, just repeat it and we're going to try to get to it. Yeah. Y'all going crazy in the chat. Now y'all all going at shots. Shots talking to all you guys. Oh, Lord. Wayne said, I think people forget if we win 57, he has the same amount of Super Bowl wins and MVPs as Pat Mahomes. Jalen is the real boogeyman of the NFC and NFL. Yeah, man. That's why I'll never forgive a couple things, man. Jonathan Gannon. For as good as his defense was all season long, and we had one of the best secondaries, but man, again, as much as I yelled Jonathan Gannon, that field was slippery as hell. The number one sack defense in the NFL couldn't sack Mahomes once. And at the end of the day, we needed one stop, bro. One stop in the second half, and we win that game. The defense couldn't get us one stop. James Bradbury hold. What if ifs were a fifth, we'd all be drunk. But that is a crazy if right there. If Jalen Hurts was a two-time MVP, two-time Super Bowl champion, oh my God. Eagles would have 3 Lombardis. That's crazy. You ain't lying there. Michael said, no support. Lori loves Hurts on and off the field. He's publicly said it numerous times. Big facts. That guy might be his number one fan, to say the least. Forte said haters got takes about Hurts not being perfect all the time. But he's the only quarterback that has to be perfect. Everybody else is allowed to have mistakes. Light Bear with a $5 super chat led the team in passing and rushing both games with the highest completion percentage of all time in the bowl. Be for real. Laughing my bleep off. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. Led the team in passing and rushing. Miles Sanders was a 1,300-yard running back that season. Jalen led the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley was 2K say. Jalen Hurts led the Super Bowl. Highest completion percentage of all time. And we talking about when I hear the word clutch in football, I just think of Jalen. I think of Pat Mahomes too. But Pat Mahomes, is just Pat Mahomes. But clutch, like if I want stats, you go get Allen, Burrow, Lamar. I want clutch. I want wins. I want results. It's Jalen. All the talk about it's not how you finish. I mean, it's not how you start. It's how you finish. That's who Jalen is. He might not have the prettiest game, but when push comes to shove, he makes the play. Unique said, so what if you don't hype your y'all going at him still? Deng said the fumble was one aspect of the game. They went up 14 again. Even a fumble, which you could hold against Jalen Hurts, we were still leading a half. Exactly. So even if you want to talk about the fumble, we were leading at half. And you could say, well, if we didn't fumble and give him a fumble scoop 6, we would be leading by more. You never know. If Jalen didn't fumble that play, maybe we punt and maybe they return the kick. We won't know what happened because we can never go back and do that over. If Jalen don't fumble, the Eagles win. That's not true. We could have punted it and they returned it. Especially because they did almost return a punt on us. That was part of the problem in that Super Bowl too, our special teams. So Jalen was the best player in both Super Bowls. Marcus and Mike, didn't Russell Wilson lose his legs as he aged? Everyone does, historically proven. Yes. And I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is going to be 30, 31, 32, 33 running the same way. But we will cross that bridge when we get to that bridge. In terms of Jalen Hurts not running last year, that wasn't a him decision. That was a coaching decision. He said it almost at every press conference that it was asked. They asked him multiple times throughout the season, are you not running because you want to stay healthy? Blah, 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 blah. He said, no, I'm not running because it's not in the playbook. Talking about design runs. Quarterback design runs help out the running back, the offensive line, everything. If you put on tape the element of your quarterback taking design runs for big games, that's just something the defense has to game plan for. So when they go to Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts keeps it, that's now, oh shoot, Jalen got it. So now the linebackers wait a second or two on some of them play action and or RPOs because they wait to see, does Jalen have it? Does Saquon have it? Saquon's already tough to tackle. If the linebackers wait a second and let Saquon get upfield, now it's even more impossible to tackle him. A big part of the Eagles' offense that we lost last year was that. And I honestly feel like that is, if we just bring that back, the offense is back to being more dynamic and more and a lot harder to guard. You don't got to take shit to the crib all the time, and we don't got to do whatever. We don't got to do it all the time. We just got to show that on film that it's a possibility. We need DCs to be telling their linebackers to watch Jalen Hurts on certain plays. Robert said JT is still stealing bases at 35 years old. Hey, shout out to JT. That's facts. Rimo said, I love hashtag 5 shots, but he had, I love Donovan shots, but he had Andy Reid calling his plays his entire career. You can't act like that wasn't a massive advantage. Facts. Light Bear with a $5 super chat showing mad love to the channel. Jalen not going anywhere. It's every year with the looking to move on narrative, whether it's the draft or a fake trade rumor. Facts. Every single offseason, minus the celebration offseason of the Super Bowl, we've heard ridiculous narratives about Jalen Hurts. Honestly, that's pretty damn sad that every other franchise quarterback don't get this kind of talk. And the only way Jalen Hurts can shut the talk up is when he wins a Super Bowl. The year after, not necessarily win. He has to get to the Super Bowl. The 2022 offseason, we didn't hear nothing because we went to the Super Bowl and he was great at the Super Bowl, even though we lost. 23 offseason, we got to trade him. He might be being traded. Oh, shit. Inside scoop. Jalen Hurts don't listen to coaches. He makes his own plays. He's not liked in the locker room. He's blah, 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 blah. Then 2024, we go to the Super Bowl and win it. 2025, we lose in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts not liked in the locker room. Jalen Hurts the big problem. They might be trading him. The only way Jalen Hurts quiets the noise is by getting to the Super Bowl. It's unfair, but that is what he has learned to live with. That's why he don't care what is written. Philly Mike cares. And since Jalen Hurts is so gangster and he doesn't care about the opinion of sheep, I'll do the talking for him. We'll do the talking for him. And it won't be often, but whenever I see this, I chose violence today, I guess. You know? Lordy. Dang, Shots is going crazy. Shots, you're an Eagle fan, I guess, right? Marcus said, remember, kids, learn from history. Don't be a chat room champ. Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone. KRS 1. Lord have mercy. I love y'all to death. I'm going to put the link. Let me put the link for PrizePicks in the description. Like I said, click on it, please, and sign up. Listen, if you sign up for PrizePicks, use code HMA and get $50 in lineups instantly. Football season's already almost here. So why not get that $50 if you never signed up? Get the $50 so you're ready to use it for football season. You know what I'm saying? It's as simple as that. The link was in the chat, but now it's going to be pinned in the description. I'm going to put it in the description real quick. Let me do that before we talk a little bit more before I get up out of here. Put it in the description. Again, signing up is literally free. Use code HMA. You'll get $50 in lineups for the season. And if you do watch baseball, bet baseball or play baseball. All you got to do is pick less or more. It's the simplest way to get it done. It's in the link. It's in the description now. Also, hit the like button. It's free. It's easy. Let's see how many likes we got on here. We had about 400 people watching pretty much throughout the whole show. We've been live for now an hour and 53 minutes. Holy. I told my wife that I was going to go live for an hour. You see what happens when we start arguing with people? Time flies. Time flies. We got how many likes? 270. We need 30 likes to get to 300. I know we can get to 300. Come on. Light Bear with a $5 super chat. Jalen had a perfect passer rating against the number one pass defense while afflicted with Patullo ball. Think about that. that Minnesota Vikings defense early in the season was ranked number 1 in the NFL. With Kevin Patullo as his coordinator, he still somehow found a way to have a perfect passer rating. Again, it was only one game of the season, but it was against, at that time, the number 1 pass defense, and just doing it once with KP, that's crazy. You got people out here with Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid as their play caller. We had Kevin Patullo. Shame on us. Shame on the Eagles for allowing that. Sheesh. Lightbear dropped the banger right there. Even one game with a perfect passer rating, passer rating, with KP, that's crazy. DJV in the building, what's going on? Appreciate the super chats though. Lightbearer, you've been showing mad love to the channel. Desmond Davis said can't do 30 and 50 diamond push-ups. All right. Now we're at the point where we just talk. We all on fumes. Again, I plan to go live for 1 hour, and we end up talking for an hour and 56 minutes. Green Wingman with a $5 super chat. It's great to show your passion. But remember, we're all passionate adults arguing over a kid's game. That's facts. At the end of the day, the NFL is a grown man game, but the grown men in the game are playing a kid's game. My son plays Pee Wee football at 9, 10, 11. He's been doing it. So it's a kid's game, and we all passionate about it. And so, again, I respect a lot of people's opinions. And if somebody came on here saying that Jalen Hurts got to be better, or Jalen Hurts is not the, like, I don't say you have to think Jalen Hurts is great. I never said he's the best quarterback in the league or none of that stuff. I can respect an opinion. I just need it to be football talk. And I feel like a lot of it is not. Shots at again, bro. I like the content, and I'm a fan, bro. I appreciate the time. Thanks for the attention from the Hurt stands. All right. So let me ask you this before I get up out of here. Shots. So what is your take on Jalen? Is it that he's average? To you, is he average? Is he bad? You can't. I don't think you. How can you say he's bad? We won a Super Bowl with him. We've been winning games with him. Like, even in a good team can't make a bad quarterback good. So at the very least, you got to think maybe he's just average, and the team being so good is why but like, I got to know. But shout out to you for watching the content. If you ever watch the live play-by-plays when Jalen Hurts does play bad, I'm upset. Like, when we do the live play-by-plays, one, I'm tipsy. Sometimes I'm like 10, 12 shots deep. So, all the emotions come out as a fan. And although I am a big Jalen supporter, if in that Chargers game he had 3 picks, I was like, man, Jalen, you suck right now, dog. But that's the in-game opinion. Then you get the week to Usan stuff. And again, Jalen Hurts has been the driving force or the staple of some of the best football I've ever watched. And I can never speak bad about it. If he has a bad game, I will call him on that game. If he has 3 bad games in a row, I will call him on all 3 bad games. If he's horrible all season, then I will start saying, you know what, maybe he lost it. Maybe he can't do this. But I need to see all that, and at the end of the day, we're talking about a 5-year window of winning at an elite level. I ain't never going to be upset about that. Shot said he's an average quarterback. I won't say he's horrible. What the very first thing you said, though, the very first comment I read was I could have sworn you used the word terrible. But, anyways, he's an average quarterback. I won't say he's horrible, but he's not what these Glazers make him. I feel like his best asset is his legs, and I can give him credit, but not the credit these lames give him. So, all right, let me ask you this. Where do you, all right, so if you had to rank it, so you average, so you probably got him around what, 15? Like the 15th best quarterback in the league? 15-ish, 16? Let me know where you rank him. 15, 16-ish? Let me know before we get out of here. Peter Riley said Hurts is a baller. Shot caller. That troll is not. Hey, I mean, I got to remember if I've seen him before. This channel promotes nothing but stress plus anxiety. I'm officially out. Hey, appreciate it. Guess you got to be gone. Appreciate you for stopping by and letting me know that you're going to leave. No! What's his name? Mabel Basir. No, he's not going to watch my show no more. What will I do without him? Bye, bro. Nothing but stress plus anxiety. I'm officially out. Peace. Go live a stressless life. My man's crazy out here. Honestly, I rank him between 15 and 20. He wins because of how versatile our entire team from offense to defense was. All right, well, I remember all I know is this. If Jalen Hurts has his best year without A.J. Brown, I need you to change that tune. If and when Jalen Hurts has his best year without A.J. Brown, I need you to change that tune. We barely scored 10 points this whole season. The offense was bad. But we're not going to talk about the worst play caller of all time, the most beat up offensive line the Eagles had in the last 10 years, the fact that A.J. Brown had his most drops of his career. Jalen Hurts did not play well at times last year. Jalen Hurts this was not one of Jalen Hurts' best seasons. I'll admit it. Jalen Hurts he's had many better years than last year. But when you look at, AJ's drops / drama, offensive line struggles and injuries, offensive coordinator. Out of them three, Jalen's the least of my concerns. Offensive line problems. Out of them four, Jalen, AJ in a drama, O-line struggles and injuries, and offensive coordinator. Out of them four things, Jalen's the least of my concern. Hurts in that pick with the cigar and Lombardi was rage bait for the haters. They hate it. All you got to do is post it on Twitter, though, for real, and they get mad. 18th and Master. 16th and Lehigh. My man said, come find me, dog. Crazy. We all got to take it down a notch. You know what I mean? It ain't that serious. We got, what's it called? What's his name? Marble or whatever name saying, I can't take this channel no more. Hey, listen, we've been live for 2 hours. I love you to death. We'll keep it up. During the slow part of the off season, we will be breaking down film and actually trying to talk a little bit more about football. I love y'all to death. Until next time, y'all know what time it is. Let me make sure there's no AJ stuff coming up. I thought I had it. Make sure that's removed. Yes. Until next time, y'all know what time it is. Love y'all to death. We out. Peace.